Hi. Hi. Hi.
And you were afraid that not so many people will come today.
You never know. You never know. Yeah.
Brandon, you arrived on Wednesday. How's your jet lag?
It's lagging a little bit. Yeah. I feel a little bit crazy, but I guess it's kind of normal though. Yeah.
So you
I wear my
choose.
Swiss socks. You like them?
You're Swiss?
No, but
You choose the Grafick 14 for present your art for the first time in Europe. Why?
I can't really say that I chose it. I think that I was invited to come here, and so I was thrilled at the opportunity to come and make this the first place that I've shown my art in Europe. So I actually never thought that. Thank you. I've been here before quite a few times, you know, like playing concerts with Incubus, but I've never really had much time to do anything else really. So when I've been talking about it a little bit, when I have shown art in other places, it gives me an opportunity to like go out and drink wine at night and see the city a little bit more. So drinking wine helps with jet lag apparently.
Where do you drink your wine?
Where?
Yeah.
The bathroom. It's the safest place. Lock the door and draw on toilet paper, you know.
So,
Sorry. I don't really do that.
but you've been at the Grafick at the Markthalle yesterday and today too. What do you think of the Swiss graphics?
I'm honestly really inspired. I've walked around the hall a couple of times and seen a lot of the young artists at work, and it's made me want to try harder. Yeah, there's a lot of talent here, and so I actually feel really flattered to be in the company of so many good artists. So it's a real honor for me. Yeah.
So in your video you said that you were listening to Tom Waits during your paintings.
During that one, yeah.
Yeah, why? Why Tom Waits and why not Brandon Boyd? Are you never listening to your own sound?
Can you imagine? Really? That would be so weird to me. Can you just imagine this? Sorry, I'm going to paint a picture for you. Me, by myself, drinking wine in the bathroom, listening to myself, drawing pictures of my own face over and over and over again. That's actually how it goes. Yeah, it's not normal. No, that what I was talking about in the video was just an example of how drawing a picture or painting a picture goes for me most of the time. And most of the time I don't really know what I'm doing while I'm doing it. And for me, it's not really the point to know what I'm doing. Art has always been an opportunity to sort of be free, even for a small period of time. So sometimes I listen to music when I'm drawing or painting. And so that night in particular, I was in a hotel room somewhere in the Midwest in the States and listening to Tom Waits, and it was pouring rain outside. And so I just started spilling ink around on the page, and then it is almost as if he showed up in the picture unintentionally. I didn't really realize that. I sort of drew a dude in a hat, and then I'm like, whoa, kind of looks like Tom Waits a little bit, and there he is on the stereo, so I just sort of put his song lyric in there, and that's how it kind of goes, you know. There's very little pre-planning for me when I do art projects. I just sort of like to just kind of go and fly by the seat of my pants.
But actually, I know your favorite singers are females, and a lot of your paintings, there are females too, or more female figures than male figures.
Girls are prettier than guys.
That's it.
Kind of. I mean, every once in a while, a friend or a loved one will sit for me, and I'll like draw their profile or, you know, draw them or something, but most of the time it's just stuff that kind of randomly shows up. I was going to say, a lot of times I don't listen to anything at all when I'm drawing. It's fun to draw to a soundtrack occasionally, but for me, more often than not, I draw to the sound of nothing. You know, like no music, no anything, just like the sort of general cacophony of noises going on in the house or with the window open outside. All of those things end up being really inspiring. It creates its own kind of song. And then it informs the art in a strange way too. It's almost more free if you're not listening to anything at all. Yeah.
Also ich habe vorhin wieder mal mein Nadel irgendwo liegen lassen und nicht gewusst, kann man es haben. Er hat gesagt, passiert dann nie. Er weiß immer, wo er das Zeug herleitet. I said that you always know, when I lost my mobile a few minutes ago, that you always know where you put your things. So you're really concentrated. How do you get your mind free when you're painting? Do you smoke something or?
Sometimes, sometimes I do, but most of the time not. You know, because that informs the process in a different way too. You know, it's like someone's helping you. You know, and so I think most of the time it's more fun to not have any help and just kind of like you're like out in the wild, wide open. And so what we're really doing are there any artists in the audience? Yes. You can probably attest to it. I mean, if you've ever drawn a picture or written a song or even taken a picture, I think that the wonderful thing about it is that there are really no rules. Or, you know, sometimes we have a job in art and there are sort of restrictions placed on us, but I think the most liberating artistic experiences are when we are in that form and there's no rules. And how often do we get to have that in our lives when there's no like someone not breathing over your shoulder or telling you you're late or something. And so for me with art and with music too, for the most part, it's been that. I think that's why I love to do it so much. It's because there's nobody like lording over me. Hurry up, finish. I like how that sounds. You do this, they interview like this. Okay.
So, but that's also kind of a luxury, be that freedom, to have nobody behind you watching you. Not everybody can do that.
Yeah. Well, everybody can. Anybody can draw a picture, you know. I truly believe that too. I've met people in my life who didn't know how to like draw, or they consider themselves not to be creative or something, and then at some point in their life they give themselves permission to just try and just practice a little bit. And I've seen it happen a bunch of times where people truly surprise themselves and they surprise people around them too. It really opens up a world in their life that they didn't know existed. And I really think that's available to anybody at any time. It doesn't have to be drawing too, it doesn't have to be photography, it can be like knitting. It can be meditation, it can be surfing or skiing, mountain climbing, any of those things, you know.
So drawing is not a talent. Everybody can learn how to draw.
I truly believe it. Yeah, I've seen it firsthand. You know, I've met people that just naturally were talented and they can just do it already. And I mean, maybe that's like karma or something. Maybe they're just remembering from the past life. I don't know, but I've met people who like would draw stick figures. Like that's all I can do. And then they decided that they wanted to be an artist. And so they practiced. And they practiced. And they got good. And I've seen some people just like accelerate to the point where you're like, wow, your mind is blown with what they can do. I went to school with a couple of people like that. And some of them are professional artists, you know? Yeah, you can do it. I believe in you.
So in the video we also saw, I noticed in the back there was a Jesus cross. When you were playing the guitar,
Oh, right.
Are you religious, Brandon?
No. No, it's an antique picture I found at an antique mart somewhere. I just thought it looked really cool. And if Jesus existed, he was probably like a really cool dude who everybody just misunderstood. So when I look at that picture, I like to think of like Jesus as like the hippie dude. He's like, hey, you know, stop it. And that's all, everybody was like, this is amazing. No, I'm not a religious person. I consider myself to be a spiritual person, though. And I do think that there is a distinct difference between those two things. It's weird. You go to bookstores or you look online for material on spirituality, and it's always lumped in with religion. It always says religion and spirituality, and it's weird to me that those two things would be put together, because in my humble opinion, religion is sort of the perversion of spirituality. It's a sort of politicizing of spirituality, which the two things have nothing to do with each other. But yeah, not religious. And that picture of Jesus, he's just my bro, I guess.
So you are spiritually assessed. When you go on stage with Incubus, you put your shirts off, and when you draw, you wear your glasses.
I put on things when I draw. Yeah, I don't get sweaty when I'm drawing. So when you start to like rock, you start to like make music, you're shaking your head around, and there's tons of people in front of you, you start to get sweaty. And I considered like losing the pants and leaving the shirt on, but it seemed like a weird thing. We talked about that before. I'm thinking about maybe as I get older, like switching it up. I'll leave my shirt on and take my pants off and see if people still come to the concerts. I don't think it's gonna work so well.
But it's the same Brandon. It's the same Brandon wearing glasses, or is it the young Brandon and the older Brandon?
I do sometimes walk around my house with my glasses on and my shirt off. Does that make a difference?
I guess we accept that.
Yeah. No, it brings up an interesting point. I think that every one of us at any given time throughout the day or throughout our lives, we all have multiple personalities drifting around in these bodies. We all have sort of multiple selves. And we indulge those personalities at different times throughout the day. Some of us have to put on like our work face. We gotta like put the time on before we go to work, and then yes sir, no sir, all that crap. And then you come home and you take that jacket off, and it's like, hey baby, and I don't know, hey Jesus in the picture. What was I trying to say? Oh yeah, I really think that we don't give ourselves enough room. We don't give ourselves enough permission to be many things. I think that each of us has the opportunity to do lots of things, to be many things. When we give ourselves that opportunity to kind of lighten up and not have to be one role all the time, I just feel like we're happier. I know I feel happier when I'm not sort of held to one role, which is probably why I do lots of things. I love to make music. I love making music. But I also love painting. I also love taking pictures. I also love spaghetti. I don't eat it very often, but it's delicious. Have you tried it?
Spaghetti.
That's good. You guys should try it. It's great.
So, but how is the vibes different when you go on stage with Incubus as a singer than when you sit here with me on the couch, like grandma style?
How's this couch, by the way? It's so cool. It's plush. Sorry,
What's the difference, or how do the vibes separate from each other, and which one do you prefer? Or
I don't really have a preference, to tell you the truth. And I know that there are distinctions, but I think mostly the distinctions are aesthetic. I don't think that they're really, I am at my core and my essence, it's the same me that's doing all those things. And it goes back to what I was saying. It's like I've just sort of been learning throughout my life to give myself space, give myself permission to do many things. And I think at the core of it is trust. I trust myself, I trust where my sense of integrity lies, and so I don't really feel like I have to worry about how that's going to turn out or that's going to turn out. I feel like if I stay rooted in love, really, if you want to like get deeper about it, if you stay in that sort of love place, then there's really nothing to be afraid of. So all of those things are me. Do you know what I'm saying?
kind of.
Are you going to translate all of this, by the way? He gets it. Yeah.
So, I guess last question from my side. have you ever done like specific motives for tattoos? Yeah, sujets. Have you drawn tattoos for other people?
Something that they would actually tattoo
Yeah.
on them with a specific idea. I have, but I've never really like. So yes and no. I've never sat down and like drawn something where I spend a lot of time and like here, like tattoo that on you. But I have done a lot, which I don't know how great this is I'll meet somebody and they're like, I like your art, will you draw something on my arm right now? And I'm like, you don't want me to do that. Yes, I want you to do that. And so I'll draw like something quick that's all sweaty and like terrible, and then that's happened countless times. I'm sorry if I did to the audience.
I guess you had to sign some arms later on too.
That's fine, but I should draw things more for my friends. I'm like, here, get this tattoo. They're like, fuck you, dude, I'm not putting that on you.
But people don't come to you and say, hey Brandon, can you give me your spirit and draw something for me as a tattoo?
Yeah, that happens often. Yeah, I
See?
I don't mind. I usually don't have a lot of time to do it though, so it's like these tiny little flower or something ridiculous that's like this big.
Last unicorns.
What's that?
Last unicorns.
Yes. I'll draw dolphins.
Dolphins.
I'll draw unicorns all day. Do you guys have unicorns here? Switzerland?
I haven't seen some yet, but
They're here though, aren't they? Don't say no.
so, ich will auch sagen, ich glaube, wir haben hier irgendwo ein Mikrofon auch noch im Publikum. Bitte, ja. Also jetzt sind wir gefragt, wenn ihr irgendetwas wünscht stellen an Brandon. Fragen, einfach aufstrecken. Bitte. Und da.
I can see everybody now. Hi.
Danke. Okay. Hello. Because you said before that you're listening to songs while you're drawing.
Sometimes.
Yeah. And yeah, I want to know if you ever heard of synesthesia. That's when you hear colors in music. So I was wondering if you're able to do that.
I just heard this word for the first time about a year ago. And so that's only the second time I've heard the word. But I don't know what it completely entails, but I always have dreamt in color. I see images and colors when I listen to music, and I never knew what it meant. I just thought that I was kind of weird, or that, I don't know. Is that what it's called? Synesthesia. That sounds bad.
Like a disease or something.
Or something that you take to become more sinister. Which, that sounds awesome. I'd be down for that. I got a whole bunch of synesthesia back at my hotel room.
I don't necessarily have a question. I just wanted to say I came all the way from Florida to see you. You talked and you said about not living life and fitting in one role. I work for an orthopedic surgeon. It's crazy working there, and I felt like I needed to get away. And seeing that picture that you posted made me plan this trip.
I love that. It's so good, yes. Are you having a good time? Is it your first time here?
Yeah. The first time I ever left the country was to Japan last year. But I've seen you in Alpharetta, Georgia, along with Lincoln Park. I own the Plunge 43rd out of 50, I believe. A big fan, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Tomorrow, which was coming back?
Other questions? So, Brandon, you have a dog. Who's watching after Bruce when you're away?
Bruce is actually remarkably self-sufficient. He hunts. That's Bruce. He hunts in Los Angeles, so when I'm gone, he just roams, and I'm kidding, that would be terrible. He's very spoiled. He's very, very spoiled. Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with Springsteen.
No, it's not. His name is not. He's not named after any particular Bruce. When I met him when he was a puppy, and he was sitting under a tree and he looked sad. And I went and sat down next to him and I looked at him and he looked up at me and like he just looked like Bruce. That was it.
Hi, I have a question about music. When you write a song, how do you realize that it's an Incubus song or a random song?
Like, this is the Duran Duran song. Oh my God, if only. I want to write Duran Duran songs. I know what you mean. It's an interesting question because I write. I'm sort of continually writing. So I actually don't specifically write music and go, this is an Incubus song, this is a Sons of the Sea song, this is a Duran Duran song. I'm going to work on that last one though. It's a little bit more what the environment asks for. So we usually get together to write Incubus songs as a team. You know, we're friends that grew up together and we're definitely a team. And so it usually starts with, hey, you guys feel like playing music together? And yeah, let's do it. And we get together in a room, we start writing songs, and that's how that happens. So everything else happens when everybody's sort of busy and away from Incubus. Incubus is still very much a band. We're still like a thing. And so my extramarital affairs take place when we're not sort of on a honeymoon, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Hi, Brandon. I'm interested in how do you eat? Are you vegan or are you vegetarian? I read, I think on your homepage that you have lactose intolerance. And so, yeah, are you? Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, that's it.
It's funny. Sometimes I'm like on social media and you see that the way people choose to eat is sort of part of how they describe themselves. They're like, hi, I'm Joe, vegan, swordsmith, horse whisperer, you know what I mean? But it's like, food is usually first. And for a while I thought that was weird, but then I've come to realize that it's not weird at all. We sort of we're making decisions about ourselves based on what we decide to ingest. But to answer your question, yes, I grew up lactose intolerant, so ice cream has never been on the menu for me. Or the amazing illegal cheeses that you guys get here. But, yeah, the cheese here would be illegal for us in the States, which that's a long story.
The main thing of my question is, you said that you're a spiritual person.
Yeah.
And does that mean that you don't eat animals?
Oh.
No, I occasionally eat animals, but it depends. I don't just eat anything. It's a little bit complicated. Some of it has to do with like health things for me, and then some of it has to do with certain ethical decisions that I started making when I was very young. So in the U.S. we have what we call big agriculture or industrial agriculture, and this is a whole other conversation, so I'll try and make it brief, but we have a tendency in the States to sort of industrialize everything, even something as sacred as a meal. And in my humble opinion, I think that we've kind of strayed off the path of what's good for us, and it started to really affect the health of our planet, you know. So it's a little bit easier to get good real food outside of the United States, which is really, it's kind of strange, but so be it. I'm hoping that there'll be a generation who cares more about what they eat in the States. That will help change that. So.
Hi, Brandon. Is there a particular process you undergo when writing a song? Do you start with melodies, or do you start with lyrics, or whatever else?
That's a good question. I don't have a really specific answer for you though, unfortunately, because a songwriting process has always been different. There are ways that songs happen. With Incubus, it usually starts with like a riff of some kind. It's kind of like more of an old school way, I think, of writing music. And Michael is a phenomenal guitar player and musician, so he makes it really easy on me as a lyricist and a singer. He'll play a riff and like record it onto his phone and send it to me, or it's just like the songs almost write themselves because he's really good like that. So there's that way. Then there's occasions where a phrase will sort of arrive out of the ether or wherever it comes from, and it seems totally random and doesn't make sense, and then I can't get it out of my head. The phrase will just repeat, and there's no melody attached to it at all. And I'll just be repeating the phrase, I'm riding my bike or something, and all of a sudden there's a melody that starts to grab onto it, and it feels like it comes from nowhere. And maybe it does come from nowhere, I don't know where, or maybe I'm just filtering, a lifetime of references and influences and things. And so sometimes stuff happens that way. More recently, I've been dreaming a lot more in music. I've always dreamt music, but never really had the language skills to sort of translate it. So I would just have these sort of strange, cacophonous musical dreams, and I'd wake up and be like, whoa, all right, never hear that again. But I've started to get a little bit better at remembering some of those things. So in a weird, fun, sort of fortuitous twist of fate, I'm starting to do a lot more work on songwriting while I'm sleeping. But then I found out actually that it's not terribly unusual for musicians who've been writing songs for a long time to dream music and then start to learn how to remember it. It's very similar to, you have a vivid dream and you remember it, and then you talk about it with your friends. It's kind of the same thing. So, but the language that I've learned to speak is one of the languages is music. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're going to translate this whole thing, right? After? Yeah. No. Okay.
In the exhibition, we have got an artist who's painting his songs. Do you also paint your songs? I'm on the other side. Yeah.
God.
No. Just dream songs and also paint songs, because we have got an artist in the exhibition who's painting songs.
Right. I'd like to see that. I haven't seen that yet.
I'll show you.
Yeah, sometimes the songs will not. I don't know how to make sense of them in an audio way, and so I'll translate them into lines. And then in only to me, I can see where the melodies were trying to go in a bunch of line work. And I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but sort of.
Hello, Brandon. I'm from the Maldives.
Hi.
Hi, and I have just two things, one question and a little present which I got. I just was wondering, are you going to do a show like this in another country? Because this is such a big inspiration for all the artists around here.
I would love to. It's nice to go places where you're invited. So, are you inviting me?
Please come to the Maldives.
I'm going to come to the Maldives to surf one day anyway,
please.
so I'm going to combine
We can
that
sort
trip.
it out for you. There's cool safari boats and
Great.
everything, which is doing so good stuff.
We'll do one of these on a boat, and then we'll all jump into the water and surf.
Wow.
No, I'm a little bit like a vampire in a way with these kinds of things. Like I need to be invited into your living room before I can have any. Yeah, you know what I mean. So yeah, they invited me here, and it was such an honor. So I'm down. Let's do it.
And congratulations! I think you got married, right?
No. Wait, did I? Yeah.
Wrong news.
You heard I got married?
I was just really happy for your lady.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, she's amazing.
Shall I give you back your present now?
Is it a wedding gift? Oh.
This is from the Maldives.
Oh, okay.
How can I?
Questions?
Hi, Brandon. Is surfing also an inspiration for your paintings or your music?
Absolutely. For those of you that don't know, I grew up surfing, and I still surf. I consider myself like a lifer. It grabbed me from a young age, and there's something about doing that kind of spontaneous dance with nature that is continually inspiring. It's like a limitless well of inspiration. in a lot of ways, surfing has been associated with like extreme sports and extreme behavior and hey, dude, and all that kind of stuff. And I used to talk like that when I was a kid. And I think I had a series of experiences surfing, though, that felt a lot more like artistic experiences. And that's what really grabbed me. It's an opportunity to be completely 100% present. You're almost forced to be present, because if you don't, you can drown. So it's that idea of radical nowness, like presence, that all of these activities are really pointing at. So surfing is just another one of them that forces you into the present moment. You don't know what you're doing until you're in the moment doing it, so you're focused on that one point. Yeah.
Hello.
Other side, here. Yeah.
I just wanted to know if there are things in which you are addicted to.
I don't really have what we would call an addictive personality, so I feel very blessed for that. Thank you, Mom and Dad, I guess. But I have a human brain. And we have, the way our brains are wired, the way our brains have evolved and are evolving is this sort of reward system thing. And so I find myself occasionally addicted to the computer. I think all of us that use the internet have felt those sort of pangs of like, I need to check my email. What's going on Facebook or something ridiculous like that. And I like to try and keep that in front of me and try and remember that it's a tool, and that the tool can very easily like turn around and, you know, whack you in the head. A hammer is a really brilliant invention, but you can also really hurt yourself with it if you don't use it properly. So I don't have many addictions. I like having a good time a lot. I wouldn't say I'm addicted to it, but yeah. I mean, I'm not addicted to drugs, if that's what you're being more specifically. I've never had any kind of a drug addiction. No. Sorry.
Hi, Brandon. I just was wondering, where did you find the time to work in the Make Yourself Foundation? You have a lot to do, and then this foundation, and how are the criteria to choose the project?
Really quickly, I'll just explain. If any of you don't know, the Make Yourself Foundation is a nonprofit that Incubus started in 2003. So when we're on tour, it's when we do most of the sort of fundraising for the Make Yourself Foundation. And when you're on tour, it's sort of a blessing and a curse at the same time that you have a lot of the day where there's nothing to do. And you can see where people, speaking of addiction, you can see where a lot of people would get kind of lost in that amount of time, where like your main responsibility is for 2 hours every night. The rest of the day you kind of do whatever you want. And so a lot of people just get high and don't do anything. So for a couple of hours every day that we're on tour, while we have a show day, we do meet and greets. And we get to meet people who've been listening to the band for a long time. I've met some people here in Zurich that have come to some of the meet and greets. And all of that money over many, many years, you know, it's generated a lot of money for lots of other nonprofits. And so a lot of the time is there. But then when I'm home and I'm doing other kind of work like that, it's fun. It's a lot of fun for me. And to be of service to something that's sort of larger than any one of us it's a really kind of gratifying thing. It actually is fun. And so that's where I find the time. So there's a little bit of selfishness in there because it's actually fun for me to be of service, and it reminds me what's important too. So Does that answer your question?
Hello, mister.
Hi.
I got something for you, and I want to check if you. I know you know what it is.
I can't see it from here, but.
So you have to play it now. No, he's playing. I'm playing.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's a laptop. Yes, so that's great. How did you know I know that. This is what I've never seen them like this before. Just, I moved the line. That's amazing. I'm sorry if I messed this up. This is for
Thank you.
Sure, sure. Thanks. Nice to meet you.
I'm so glad that went well. At first I was like, what is that thing?
It's also a wedding present.
Hi, Brandon. I just want to ask, when you're painting and doing, your work, do you prefer being in solitude, like alone, or is, Bruce running around in the background? And, what do you prefer when you're painting?
I prefer a variety of environments, to tell you the truth. The environment will produce a different outcome. It's almost like people. Paintings are like little people that we're making. So you can have the same piece of paper, the same pens or paints, and if I set it up by myself, all alone at my house, it's going to produce a very different kind of image than if I set up the same tools at a coffee shop or on a hill somewhere. So I actually don't really have a preference. Do you paint? No. Yeah. But a good question though.
Hello. I want to know, what do you love the most about creating art? What's the motivation about it, behind it?
That's a nice question too, thank you. I touched on it a little bit a few minutes ago with that idea of being present, and then the idea of feeling free. I believe, in this we can talk in a spiritual sense, I believe that we are free, completely free. But I believe that we have convinced ourselves that we are not free. We don't feel as free as we actually are. So I like to seek out instances in life that remind me how free I actually am in a bigger sense. Yeah. Does it answer your question or not?
Two bottles of wine, if you want to.
Sure.
One from Portugal and one from Spain.
Thank you. It's as if you knew I'm not on tour. I don't really drink when I go on tour, but we're going to celebrate now, right?
Hello. Sorry. You said before that you love taking pictures, and I saw on your Instagram that you have a Polaroid. And I wanted to ask, do you like analog photography or more digital photography? Or because I'm an analog photographer, and I really like it.
I feel like I keep copping out on these answers because I'm not answering the question so specifically, but the real truth is that I don't really have a preference. I love analog photography. I still use I have SX70s, those Polaroids, and I love them. They're so much fun, and they do a particular thing, But I also love my digital cameras too. It's just fun. It just really depends on what you're trying to get. So, but it's nice to have a variety of tools to work with. What kind of camera do you work with?
I have a lot of.
Yeah.
I have.
Do you use Polaroid too?
Yeah, I have a Polaroid. I have
Yeah.
a Polaroid too because I love it so much.
Yeah.
Sorry. I have this one. For example,
Oh,
that's a fish eye.
Is it Lomo?
Yeah, it's a Lomo. I have a lot of Lomo cameras. I have the Diana, the 360,
Uh-huh.
and
Do you ever play with medium format stuff?
yes,
That's a lot of fun.
I have a lot of equipment and I
Cool.
try a lot of stuff. So.
It's great.
Yeah.
The more the merrier.
Letzte zwei Fragen. Letzte last 3 questions, I guess.
Is there any person in the world you would like to meet? Someone maybe that inspires you, or you would like to talk to? And what would you what would be your question to him or her?
That's a heavy question. I'd love to meet Jimi Hendrix. You guys like to meet him too? So the minute we have a time machine, we're all going to get together and go. Yeah. I don't know if I'd ask him anything. I'd probably just sort of rush up on him and give him a big man hug and hope that some of his stuff got on me so I could be a little bit cooler. There's honestly I've had countless sources of inspiration growing up, and people from musicians to writers to photographers to philosophers to gardeners and surfers and all kinds of people, and I've been blessed on a number of occasions to meet some of those people. But yeah, I'm serious about that time machine thing. That'd be really fun to go back and not try and change anything, but just go back and be like, hey, you're gonna be awesome one day. Or meet someone who's not awesome and be like, dick, stop it. Tie their shoelaces together or something.
Hi. First of all, I came from England to see you, so yeah. So basically, I do art as well, and I found out about your art in high school, and that really, I've always been drawing, so it's hard to say when did you start drawing, but your art influenced my styles the most out of anyone that I've experienced through art. So my question is, you have a very distinct style, so was there anyone or anything that you saw or experienced that helped shape that very distinct style that you have in art?
To my knowledge, yes. The short answer is yes. I'm just going to preface my answer with, I know that I am as influenced by the things that I'm unaware of that are coming into my sort of field. I think everything influences everything, and it's a beautiful thing. It's like we're constantly being bombarded with smells and shapes and sights and sensations, and but getting back to the yeses, there was a moment when I fell in love with the artists of the turn of the century. So people like Aubrey Beardsley and Egon Schiele and Gustav Klimt and a number of those artists from that era, and there was something about it that really, really resonated with me. And it just, I don't really know why, I just thought it was beautiful. I thought the work was really, really striking and evocative. And then I started to fall in love with more contemporary artists who were influenced by them. And I ended up being more influenced by the contemporary artists who were filtering. So I was influenced, but it was sort of like a second generation influence. So it was artists from the 60s and the 70s who originated that kind of San Francisco acid rock concert poster. That stuff, when I was in high school, I was obsessed with that stuff. So artists like Stanley Mouse and Rick Griffin really had a huge impact on me. And so I would buy all their books and just obsess over them. And I would obsess over the the way that they would do lettering and the way that they would do a hard line on the outside of their characters and the flowing hair and beautiful line work and everything. And then I started learning about the Aubrey Beardsleys and Gustav Klimts and stuff after the fact. So.
I have actually, I did a portrait of you that I for you.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I'll give that to you at the sign.
Thank you.
Hey Brendan, I know you love reading books. Can you tell us what kind of books you're reading right now?
Sure.
This one. Last question, so you can.